tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The sound of that can only mean one thing. Many happy returns here on the AfterBuzz TV podcast for The Prisoner. We have I Am Steph Z.
We're happy to return.
That's her Twitter handle, by the way.
That is. Tweet me. I want to talk to you people out there.
And we have Meredith Placco.
At MPlacco. Though that's changing soon.
Is it?
It is.
How are you changing your Twitter?
I've decided nobody knows how to spell my last name, so I'm going to. I can't say what it is because I have to actually buy the handle from someone, but I will have a new handle.
You're like number 2 becoming number 46.
I
Or like
am. I know.
So change of identity
follow
here.
me at MPlacco and talk to me about things and stuff.
There you go.
Things and
If you
stuff.
follow now, then you won't have to refollow
It's
later.
true.
You'll just know.
Oh, you get to keep all your followers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought
You don't start anew. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's a whole different discussion. We are here talking The Prisoner, and we've been hyping this up for a little bit, but the 601 Society is having a meetup, and that's April 17th. And that's coming up real fast. It snuck up.
Did you book our private jet for this yet, Phil?
It snuck up too fast.
We're just gonna eject over the island.
Promises.
No.
Promises.
I'm better spontaneous.
We're gonna parachute in like 007.
That's right.
I'm down.
So this episode, we'll try to keep it as spoiler-free as we can in terms of the other episodes, but no guarantees. No guarantees. We'll try as best we can. So, of course, we're talking many happy returns, and everyone's hopefully favorite segment, a quick overview of the episode. It is the 13th episode in production that was filmed. It is, unfortunately, generally thought to be the weakest script. It was written by Anthony Skeen, and one of the reasons that it came about, David Tomlin, he wanted one episode where there was no dialogue for at least the entire first act, and obviously they accomplished that goal.
Why? Do we know why he wanted that?
People like to do it as an exercise.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted to be
Go to
very
the gym.
ambitious.
Have people talk.
There you go. We're already getting hints of Steph Z's opinions right there. This was actually supposed to be the season finale, which would open up the village into the larger world. At least that's how George Markstein wanted it to be. And he went on record to say that he is actually proud of this episode, despite many people thinking it is the weakest episode. And McGoohan had to step in because another director got sick, so he directed the episode. And this is the only episode where number 2's face is not revealed in the opening, and that's the overview.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was when I was watching it, my boyfriend is in the room. He's like, "What are you watching? There's no dialogue." And I'm like, "Oh, it's The Prisoner." He's like, "Is it a silent episode?" I'm like, "For a bit, yeah."
For a large bit.
Yeah, he was really he thought it was very ambitious for the time frame. That's a nice way of putting it.
So, I mean, overall reactions to it,
Honestly, I know it's viewed as one of the weaker episodes. I loved it. I liked the lack of dialogue. I thought there was a lot going on and a lot that was being said without having to have dialogue. It would have been interesting if they had been able to continue that. I don't necessarily know if it played into the overall aesthetic of the episode. I feel like so much of what the first 26 minutes could have been condensed down to 5, and we could have gotten some more time with number 6 in his various places. But the reveal of number 2 at the end was probably my favorite.
Yeah, it makes everything, by going so slow in the beginning, it just makes everything at the end so much more impactful, and every line you're left examining like, wait, what is that?
Yeah.
What is?
Yeah.
And for you, Steph?
I did. I was a little bit... It felt almost like I was watching a different show in the beginning. I was like, what is happening? But it made sense in the same so to speak. And you know me, like I'm the adrenaline junkie. I'm like, wait, I want to know what's happening. What's he thinking? What's going on? But you, like Meredith said, you could tell there was so much communicated to us in unspokenly. You know what I mean? None of that's a word, but you know what I mean. It was very, it was kind of powerful, but a little dull. That was my like. It was a little
Well, what do you?
maybe not dull. Maybe it was that a little bit of confusion because there was no direction. There was so much happening, and you had to trust your own path of what you thought was happening.
So let's start there.
That for me, I think was a little
What
bit
did
more.
what did you think? What are you left? I mean, for me, if I had to say anything about it, it's that that the village is exactly identical to the global village, and I think that's the message of this episode. And beyond that, I'm not quite sure.
No, I that was kind of the message that I got as well. I also, there was times that it was just very, for me, it was like, it was a little bit of not believable in a sense. I know I might get like crucified out there, but it was, so you wake up and there's no one in the village. There's no noise. There's nothing happening. So you think you can escape, but yet you're going to do all, like it took them a long time to escape.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, what is happening? But you did get to see some of his spy skills.
Well, let's start with there, right? So there's a couple pictures we have, and Jonathan, if you can pull up the one where with the shower, right? Because right off the bat, in terms of the village being abandoned, as much as the prisoner hates the village, he's dependent on it because now he's like angry at the shower for not being on. So he needs the village.
I mean, yeah, I would be angry too because he's probably just thinking, oh, what are they up to now? What ploy to screw with me are they? You know, I mean, that's kind of how I viewed the whole first, 10 minutes or so while he was still in the village was like him. To me, it was unbelievable in the fact that I'm like, why aren't you immediately doubting everything?
Yeah, like he was just going on, and it was like, nobody's in the village. I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna build a boat. I'm gonna check this out, and then I'm gonna go. It was like, dude, it was almost like he knew he was gonna have this extended time period to make a getaway, which to me was a little bit unbelievable.
And this is just my biggest complaint about number 6 in general. For a spy, he's not very skeptical. He really should question a lot more of the things that happen.
Yeah, and not to jump, and we'll jump and then I'll jump right back. But to me, I saw in this episode, it was the biggest reveal of spymanship when he was on the boat and made pretend he was dead and then got on the back of it. Like, for me, that was like, okay.
Finally.
We've got a spy here. Because the beginning was like, what are you doing? Wake up.
It's like Castaway. It's Tom Hanks in Castaway.
Yeah.
And the camera's as
I
Wilson.
fell asleep during that movie. No, I'm just kidding.
So did I.
I probably did. I'm a sleeper. There's the Z meter. How long I get through the movie. It's my own Z meter.
That's
Very good.
New show on Popcorn Network.
Well, so speaking of the sea, he was at sea for 25 days with his little raft, and it was quite the raft. Certainly much better than and speaking of which, the parallels to Chimes of Big Ben can't be ignored, and so maybe part of the reason why there's such a, for lack of a better term, hatred or like dislike is that it's so similar to Chimes of Big Ben, and Chimes of Big Ben for me is just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
I mean, I can't. I'm like, yes, I agree. I can't expound on that. No, I mean, there's a lot of parallels to Chimes of Big Ben, but I don't. I guess when you think about it, that this was meant to be the last episode, and you don't think about it in terms of the longer series, it makes a lot more sense, though.
Would it leave you? I mean, would it leave you happy as a season finale?
No, I would have been pissed. I would have been like, really? Really? This is what you're giving me?
Well, especially if it ended the way it did with, like, because it's like, oh, it's just back to normal. Like, if they left it completely open-ended without us knowing, I probably would have liked that a bit more.
I mean, the goal was, obviously, if this was a season finale, they would have a second season.
That's true.
So your anger would,
Yeah.
But we would have been waiting for 45 years because they didn't.
Well, yes. I mean,
saying.
hindsight's 20/20, but
I mean, it is. It's 45 in this case.
There you go. One of the things, I don't know if this would have made it more interesting. They actually cut down a lot for time reasons. And, when he's going through England and he's discovering all those things, there was a whole big, police chase, which, again, it was supposed to symbolize Rover and the village and kind of, again, him just running constantly no matter where he is.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little about, we skipped over the whole boat situation.
All right, let's go back to the boat.
And then, people trying to, first of all, I loved the actual old film camera that he was using, and he was trying to keep the film safe in the Ziploc bags. That was kind of awesome to see.
Yeah.
But that, I was talking about, that spy moment where he gets attacked, so to speak, by the bigger ship. Clearly, they were guys transporting guns, weapons. There was all this stuff going on. Pirates.
You can call them
I was
pirates.
going to say pirates. I was trying to stay away from the pirate word, but we'll go there, pirates.
What's wrong with pirates?
Yeah.
Nah, because they weren't your typical pirates.
But that's what pirates in the 60s were. They were gun runners. We could call them smugglers.
Smugglers, bad guys. They were the bad guys. And he outsmarted them, and then they got on the boat, and he tied them up, which, again, it was a little bit weak in the tie-up situation. You kind of knew they were going to get out. And then he got away. And I just thought that I do like those fight scenes. I do like the choreography in that. I like how he wins but doesn't always win. It kind of comes back around. So I thought that was just... And being at sea that long, again, screwed with the time frame of the first time where he got on the boat, and they said it was only 3 miles away or whatever it was. So there's a lot going on in that for me. And then we get to London.
Well, real fast, even just about that, it kind of ties in more to the later stuff. But obviously, this is when it happens. He stays up for 20 hours, sleeping for only 4. That is just in terms of discipline, it's tremendous.
That is.
I don't think I could do that.
Why don't you try?
Yeah.
You get more done.
I don't think I would. I don't think I could pull that off.
No.
That takes such a weird level of discipline.
You can give it a shot. You'll think about how much more shows. I know my mac and cheese case. How many more shows you'll record if you were only up for 20 hours?
I believe every week, every day, every minute, I'm pretty much tested to the limit of what I can endure. I don't need to.
I think you can do more.
I think if we put you in the village, we could push you a bit harder.
Fair enough.
Okay, so let's
Gypsies
go.
in England.
Yeah, I did not like the gypsies.
Why not?
I don't know. I didn't okay, fine. There was the language barrier, obviously, but I mean, you don't need to know a language to understand what's going on. But I was actually legitimately confused. Who wanted number 6 there, or why did they just? It seemed like the lady was very angry. No, I don't want him here. But then she's like, here's some food. It was just a little discombobulated for me. I disjointed. I didn't really.
I kind of agree. It was a little bit. I don't know. Didn't work.
Yeah.
It worked, and I followed and I got it, but I was a little bit what is happening
Oh,
here?
and I'm sorry, Roma. They do not like to be called. They like to be called Roma. I got in trouble on the internet once for that.
Whoa.
Yeah. They're very angry. They're
No, 100%. And I should have said something about that because I knew that fact.
Yeah.
But that's what they call them in the episode, right?
It's true. In the 60s, they called them gypsies. So.
I mean, the 60s were honestly
don't steal my baby.
They were such a racist people.
Yeah, no, it's a very different time. But yeah, no, I just didn't think it was I didn't quite get it. I mean, I'm sure it was like you have here in the notes, it was meant to parallel the village, but at the same time, it was kind of a little unnecessary, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Go back and director's cut it now. I would take that scene out.
Fair enough. So I want to now we get into London and we meet Mrs. Buttersworth. And so I want to spend time to kind of talk, because this is the more interesting part of the episode. Is really her, and obviously she's number 2, but we don't know that.
Spoiler alert.
Well, I imagine they've seen. But meeting her for the first time, what did you guys think? I mean, for me, it was when his name wasn't on the lease. He owned nothing. He literally lost all his identity.
Yeah, I just felt that. For somehow, maybe she was working with whatever agency he was, and he left, so she just got it as a perk. We're going to give you this place in this car. It might have been a perk for him. That was kind of how I read it. From the beginning, I was like, this is kind of sketchy. But I didn't from the beginning, again, spoiler, I didn't from the beginning get that she was going to be number 2. But as it kind of progressed a little bit, I was like, what is happening here?
It's a very communist way to look at it. You just handed things.
Well,
Like he doesn't-
no,
but
because a lot of people that are in spy organizations get some safe place to live, and you get set. Like a lot of companies give a company car.
Well, I'm just saying that because then, in that sense, the village has provided him with everything that he needs, And again, we've been making the comparison.
Right, so she
Eastwood.
was provided with the stuff. Yeah.
I mean, really what it did was it set up the fact that who he is in the village was really no different of his life in the world. If you want to take it on a macro to micro to macro scale, it really is parallel.
See, I saw it as that, and that in his life before the village, that was still a village that he was a prisoner of.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree.
But then why didn't he know that? Why didn't he feel that sense?
Because he's so conditioned. Like this was his norm. This is what he operates as being the base level, the norm for him, and that just felt comfortable. This is his comfort zone, where I don't think he's so far removed that he can recognize it for what it is.
I understand. Yeah, I agree.
Just again, these are all questions that get brought up. Then, can you really escape the village? So far, 7 episodes deep.
Yeah.
We've gone as far as we can, but we've never.
But is escaping how you and I would think escaping is? Like, yes, people seem to escape the village in the sense where they're not as upset with the situation as he is. They escape the prisoner feeling of the village, even though they're still in the village.
Yeah.
But escape, as in physically being removed from it, it hasn't been working out.
Fair.
Yeah, no, that's. Oh, yeah.
You
guys still want to talk about something else,
no, it's
don't
like
you?
it's like you and your freaking logic sometimes. Like I'm just like, oh, you're.
No, it's true. But
yeah.
That's exactly kind of all that you're sort of left with in that sense is all you can. You just have to find a way to transcend the village. You don't really escape the village, and so I think that's. I don't know. Could you say you could fault the prisoner for his lack of ambition in that sense?
And that's really what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's man versus
society.
Society, yeah, man versus man in a way, man versus
Machine
nature.
or
It's really all of those tropes of a good story rolled into one. I mean, it's really what it comes down to. It is man versus his own nature, and he's trying to escape what really is the inevitable of our day-to-day life. I mean, when you look at, especially at this point on episode 7, we look at this as a whole, is that this is really a great telling of you can't escape the day-to-day, and especially when you think about in context of the 60s, where you start seeing the ticky-tacky houses, everyone in their little compartmental lives and everything. It's a really great commentary on life from them that still prevails.
Here's a very
to today.
sad view of it. This is a powerful quote, and unfortunately I don't have it verbatim because I wasn't planning on using it, but so I'll try to paraphrase as best I can. It's no coincidence that when most people commit suicide with a firearm, they shoot themselves in the head because master just can't compete in one's head, and they just want to kill the master.
That was a little dark.
It was a little dark.
I was more thinking as accept the things you can't change or whatever that
things you can't.
No, but what I'm saying is, but here's the point of that though is to say
that just creeped
that
me out.
the point of that to say in everyday life, everyday things can have life and death meaning, right? Because everyone always thinks of it like, if I go bungee jumping, I could die. No, their routine and mundaneness can wear you down and can kill you.
Yeah. I mean,
It's deep, Phil.
Yeah.
I would, in my mind, would take it in a little bit more simplistic way of the only thing you really have power over is the way you react and act in certain situations.
now I'm just worried for you, Phil.
I know. I feel a little bit like you might have. Do we need to call
Yeah,
somebody?
No, we don't.
Do we need to have an AfterBuzz intervention?
No,
Okay.
I'm good. I'm totally good.
Okay.
The master. Whew.
Whew.
Anyway, moving
right, so
on.
yeah.
So next, what
That reappearance scene where he goes back into the
garage.
The garage. It's the reverse order of him leaving in the resignation of the
saw that.
opening. It was
Yeah, and
quite-
again, I
quite
wrote
clever.
down my numbers when she met and he saw the car again, and it was 461034 TZ. I was like, well, 4 + 6 = 10, and 10, number 7, 3, and 4. Like, what's happening with these numbers?
I'm going to give you a hint. There's only one number you need to care about, and it's at the house.
Oh,
Hint.
Yes.
Speaking of the house, real fast, this is the only time we've ever heard
we
the
see the
prisoner use his name, give a name, right?
Yeah.
And Peter, it's on my other
Smith.
thing.
Yeah,
Peter Smith. Pseudonym, real name.
pseudonym.
Yeah.
Come on, Peter
Come on.
Smith. It's like Peter Cottontail.
Yeah. It's such a generic name.
Yeah, I actually Googled the name Peter Smith and there was like all these different, if you looked in the arts and entertainment, there was like a painter, this or that. Because I was wondering if that name had some like big spy tied to it, or there was something in that. And there was there wasn't one thing that stuck out.
So is it to say that, because this whole production is made by Everyman Films, right? And so is it to say that the prisoner is Everyman, and so Peter
Yes.
Smith, it's so common, but at that point, wouldn't you just go John Smith, because that's even more common?
But that's in America.
Yeah, Peter's more
Yeah.
British.
Yeah.
Copy that.
The one thing that's, and I think I'm wrong,
Okay.
but when they were driving through the village,
London or the village?
London.
Okay.
Okay.
Quote, London. I thought I saw the Arc de Triomphe, which is actually in Paris.
Oh, I did not catch that.
When you see that arch,
Are you
that's not in London.
I need to go back and watch. Yeah, and see unless it was like something over.
There's the same one in London?
I think there's one big arch in London.
There's one big arch in London, our engineer's saying.
It looked very, and I don't know if they just took stock footage,
Yeah.
but it looked,
I'm like arch in London.
yeah, I don't know about an arch. I mean, maybe there is one. My father lived there for like 16 years, so I've spent some time there, and I've never been to like see the arch there.
To be fair, I lived in LA 6 years, and I haven't been to Griffith Observatory, so your argument is mute.
But you know it's there. No, it's not. Like, you know it's
I get it,
there.
I get
You
it.
know
You
that
do.
you know
see
what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my argument is
Our
not mute.
engineer is on this.
All right, fair enough. While we pull up that information, let's talk about there's a lot of similarities, and by the way, just more and more from everything else. The library that we all talk in is used from The General, which was the episode we ironically just did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And then
Okay, so speaking of, this was the interesting part. The character Thorpe is played by the same actor who was number 2 in, forgive me if this is a spoiler, but Hammer into Anvil.
for a future episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't have
Yeah.
known that because I didn't see that one yet. Okay.
So, and again, depending on the order, Hammer can come earlier or
Yeah.
can come later.
But to see
So-
if it had come earlier, then there would have been a lot more suspicion on number 6's part.
Yeah, but then, here's the tough part with that. From what I remember, and this is a bit of a spoiler, so maybe tune out for a minute, skip ahead.
I'm going to plug my ears.
Okay. In Hammer into I don't
okay.
remember him making a big deal of like, oh, you're number 2,
Yeah.
or having any sort of anger based off of the events of today's episode.
He probably
That's all
just
I have to
learns
say.
to accept it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
End of spoiler.
Yeah. And then and then we do and then
Did
there
you
was
find it over there?
a cutscene. No?
Yeah, I don't think you
Oh.
found that Arch of London. I'm just
It has a weird name. Though.
It has a
Arch
weird
of
name.
London.
the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally probably wrong, but it stuck out to me, and I was like, wait a minute, we're in London. Like, it just
That would be interesting
It was
if
just
they
to me,
stuck
it
that
stuck
in.
out that I was like, wait a minute, we're in London, but why? I thought that was in Paris, and then I wrote it down. All of a sudden, in London, Paris, Arc de Triomphe, and then I looked up the picture of the Arc de Triomphe to make sure, and to me, it looked like the same thing.
All right.
To
now I'm
be
gonna go back
to be
and
fair,
watch.
here's what
That's what I'm thinking of.
That's
which
what-
is
Yeah,
the
that's in
arc
Paris,
they
yeah.
triumphed in Paris.
We ha-
My argument is not mute. Take it back.
Fair enough. All right. Here's what I want to say. I'll wait for the camera to get on me.
Oh.
There we go.
Look at you.
No, but it's a good point that you bring up, only because as we're kind of in the library and we're going over these things, like this is at this point this is like the 20th location we've been given for the village, right?
Yeah.
It used to be near Poland, Denmark, Scandinavia. Now it's top of Africa somewhere.
Morocco.
Like, you know what I mean? And so it just keeps changing. Like, so
Well,
what
but-
is truth?
So I chalk that up as to inconsistencies in the scripts. Like,
do you, or
yeah.
just nobody knows where the village is? The village is everything.
That's what I would have got. The village is everywhere. Village is everywhere.
I mean, I'm sure
Here
that's
at
what they're trying to
AfterBuzz,
say.
We're in the village.
But there's also so many different people writing and filling in, and I've seen, we do know there's some inconsistency script wise. I always, at least past Meredith, always chalk that up as to, I don't think like they had like the legs talking to the brain, sort of situation. But maybe older Meredith might see it a little bit differently.
To be fair, I mean, when Breaking Bad was kind of in production, everyone would ask like Vince Gilligan, "What did you do when when you made this or that?" And he'd say, "That was an accident."
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
happy accident. Happy mistake.
But that's the thing,
Many happy accidents.
to be fair, I think people always chalk it up, it's just an accident. But I think you also gotta know that you're looking for these things, so that way when they present themselves to you, you're like, "Oh, great,
Yeah.
let's go with that."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you put yourself in that situation. All right. So all in all, then we're back at the village, and the prisoner he gets his cake, and it's got 6 candles on it. So 6. So she was right. She gave him.
Yeah.
She gave him his cake.
He got his birthday cake.
Hid them.
God, that was such a good little, dig. Like, here's that nail in the coffin sort of thing. Like, you thought you had it. Again, you were so close, and you were being screwed with the entire time.
But it was crazy too, because you actually, to me, this unfolded how much of a bigger play it was to get this specific man out of quote unquote society because of some information he might, like the elaborate plan and the elaborate things that the government might go
Yeah.
through to keep something tucked under the blanket.
Well, and if you notice, not once in this episode did they actually try to extract information from him. Like, they were like, "Oh, tell us about the village. I don't know about this thing." Like, he, kind of was going, I guess if they got the information of stuff they already knew, but there was no, "Oh, tell me about why you left." It seemed like an elaborate setup just to screw with him. Like, "Happy birthday, here's a surprise." Like, that's what it was for me.
That's a good way of looking at it.
For me, it was similar to that, but it was, we're gonna use you, we're gonna utilize and use you to think. I mean, it was pretty elaborate going
Yeah.
and taking him in a plane to go find it and figuring out the knots and how long he was at sea to figure out the miles and the direction. Like, they went completely through a lot of different scenarios to figure out where this village might be for him, even though clearly they knew where it was and knew that they were gonna eject poor number 6 out of the plane.
Though
That wasn't very nice.
It's an interesting thing, so from, taking a step into the world, and if I were part of the, intelligence agency there, running him through this scenario and seeing how he responds to that would be a good way for me to gauge how he, maybe he is just saying he quit for the right, for his reasons. Because if a man who's been through everything he has up until this point is willing to recount all this other terrible stuff, but he's still not willing to be like, "Oh, well, I left the government because of this." It really speaks of his character. Not that that's going to change anything, but to me, it was a really great, elaborate setup.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly learn more about people through their actions than their words.
Which I think is
Phil.
very interesting for the fact that
What
there
does
were
that
no
mean,
words.
Stepsy?
Nothing.
That's a dig right there.
Oh, no, I was just making fun of you
All right.
with your little gun talk earlier.
Oh my God, that's not.
Don't misinterpret that. That's not what I
Oh.
meant.
I'm kidding.
Don't misinterpret that.
I'm
I am a perfectly fine
Good.
human being.
I just think, given recent world events, we're a little on edge about things.
No, I understand, but here's part of it is to because the prisoner opens up to more discussion. So, if I may, real fast, I think part of it is we're so scared to have these conversations and to have actual meaningful conversations that, that's why people feel like they don't have an outlet. And so, you know what? I don't mind talking about those things, and I've always been very open with people in that way, and that's why people, when they're having issues, they can come to me, and we try to deal with them. And I may not be the right person for it, but sometimes just even listening helps.
Yeah.
Right.
So there you go.
No, that's true.
Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing.
I agree a lot with you. There are a lot of, don't talk about it things in this world. Back then, it seems, and today, that, people need to be okay with talking about it and not taking words to extremes, but actually just listening. I feel like you nailed it on the head. Like, so many people, what lacks in this world is people don't listen. They talk, and it's like you hear one or two things that you can associate with, and then you comment on that before even hearing the whole thing that people are trying to say. That's
I
it.
wasn't really listening, but
I
it sounded
know.
good. Just kidding. 100% just kidding.
What a jerk.
I almost dropped the D-bomb for him.
What do you guys think of in the original script? There was a lot more to him in the village, and one of the things, he goes back in the hospital and he frees the rats, but they don't run.
They don't run. They don't.
Similar to when he in Free for All, when he was like, escape, run, and everyone's like, ice cream,
Ice cream. It is like I don't want to. There's not a lot of meaning to read into it because it's pretty.
It is
on
what
the
it is,
surface.
yeah.
Ooh, I think
Then go deep.
Yeah, I want to hear.
it's kind of just like how the government is today. Like, people complain and they do stuff and they don't like stuff, but when it comes to giving up their what's the word? Their convenience, they don't want to do anything about it. So they're not going to run. They're not going to, like, even like, as simple as this water issue we have in California right now. People are complaining about it, but how many people do that are brown? How many people don't do the necessary thing? Like, if something is going to disrupt your convenience and your plan, and in the village, everything has become very convenient to everybody. So run away from that and actually have to do it on your own, or make the money again to get the ice cream, or do X, Y, Z. People get comfortable in this situation where things are taking care of them. I mean, even if you go to, welfare and this and that, like, these people get comfortable with getting this sort of handout, so to speak, even if it's not in the realm of world that they want to be in. It's easier.
Well, and I think that's what the thing with the mice was to kind of show, is that they are so conditioned to have this life that they're not going to leave. Like, this is all. They don't want to leave.
Yeah, because they get their little cheese. They get their...
Right. And which is clearly, from the outside, we see that this village might not be the best situation for them, but from the inside, they're like, man, I'm getting taken care of.
Why? Yeah.
So is it like Plato's allegory of the cave, where, the only reason to go back in the cave is to bring people out, but in this case, no one is listening?
Yeah, no one. Why? I mean, if you live in a society in which everything is provided for you on a truly equal level, so unlike communism, why leave? Like, it's the perfect utopia. You don't have to work. I mean, they have jobs, but they work, I think, mainly because they're bored. But they don't have to work for food. They don't have to work for shelter. That's all provided for them. They have time to play, time to relax, time to nap.
But the only thing about that, as you're saying, it's all provided. That what gets lost in that meaning is, like, okay, who is providing it, right?
Yeah.
And so ultimately, like, you have to ban it. I'm fine with, like, a perfect utopia, understanding that everyone pulls their weight equally. It's not just like, okay, this magical elf in the middle of the night is going to stitch your clothes.
But that would never happen.
This is different, though. This is a government not necessarily providing for people, but creating a... I mean, it's a camp. It's I don't
Kind of like the military.
Yeah.
You know what's a fun story you guys should read, and this includes you guys at home, The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. It's a fun little, it's like 3 pages long, really short story. Ursula Le Guin, I think, is the author, but yeah, The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. It's really fun but depressing story.
Oh, sweet.
I love those. As you can see, there's
Clearly.
a pattern.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a hug.
So, well, there you go. I mean, I honestly don't know what else to really talk about this episode. I mean, one of the things that we could do, right? We haven't really gotten a chance to fully do is talk about some things we've missed from past episodes and whatever else. So if we want to take kind of a minute to do that, some fun trivia stuff. There's the original 7 episodes that were always supposed to be written for the prisoner. And then there were 10 that were added. I forget if we fully talked about like the contract negotiations and how many episodes. I believe in episode 1 we really dove into that. But the last 10 were outlined in 2 days.
Over a weekend, right?
Wow.
That's insane.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes really good things come from that. And if you're not pressured, but I guess pressured into doing it all in 2 days, you can see a lot easier how things can cross over and tie back into each other, and you can keep you can create this atmosphere where we're questioning so many things like, was that coincidence or was that planned?
Well, and something I'm excited to kind of rewatch, years and years later now is how much acting, like the acting is going to differ, because I have this weird vague memory of a lot more being almost improvised where they weren't working directly off script, where I remember like the others being a bit more loose episodes. So I'm really curious to like go back and rewatch this with like that in mind.
For the most part, I mean, they stick overall to the script, only because it's so specific to how it needs to be worded. I mean, they'll change like general, colonel. Sometimes there's various things that they've changed, and I've tried to keep you guys as much in the loop on the script changes. But
I'm not reading. I'm reading scripts coinciding with the episode. I'm trying not to skip ahead, because otherwise, like we're talking about this off air, that if I read or watch something before, I'll start talking about that. So I have to do it week by week. Otherwise, we'll be way down the line.
Absolutely, and. This might have been mentioned once upon a time, but this was shot on 35 millimeter film in color, and it was one of the very first kind of TV shows to really do that because of the U.S. appeal. And I like that because obviously it's been able to transcend time. It would have been good black and white, but this just puts it on a different level.
Yeah, well, because watching Danger Man in black and white is a little like, we're not used to that sort of stuff, so it definitely pulls you out of time, but the coloring helps.
You know what I just can't get out of my head for the past like 3 minutes of this show? Why is there not a prisoner movie?
You want to? Let's open up that. We have some time. Let's open up that can of worms.
That's interesting because Hollywood reboots everything these
and
days.
this is something where there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of crossover, so a lot of stuff can kind of be cut out that doesn't pertain to the actual story or the actual message that they're trying to portray. So I feel as if they could really make this into a nice like 2 hour 10-minute
here's the history, right? So obviously AMC redid it as a TV show. Failed.
There was no, you can't dance around that. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
I didn't know.
Now, however, back in 2009, Christopher Nolan was going to do this movie.
Hey.
And I've wanted that since. I used to follow the news of that.
I just got chills.
I was like, is there a daily update for this? Like, let me check back in.
Let's not have DiCaprio as number 6. I'm just gonna. I know Nolan likes to pull from his pool, but Tom Hardy.
But I don't know who owns the rights.
Yeah.
Nolan's not. Nolan's British. Nolan is British, and so this story has appeal to him. I think for a 2-hour movie, literally, right, in terms of the setups, I think he would be the perfect director, and you set up, okay, the question is who's number 1, right? And so that becomes the thing, and then that's the...
And now, in present day, the way that all of these situations tie into what politics and government was then, but they also tie into what government and politics are now. So to have that crossover...
You can easily lift it from the time period, set it in modern day times with the same exact themes and messages going through, just with more updated
And it would actually be more powerful because of the things that are happening now. We need to start like a hashtag, prisoner movie.
Hashtag prisoner movie.
Yeah,
we want.
Does Christopher Nolan have a Twitter?
I don't know. But
hashtag Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. Well, and we'll also add his brother because we know he'll write it. So
of course, Jonathan. But I mean, one of the things that if there was a movie, I would want a lot of the themes, as you guys are saying, but I don't need the same situations, and that's why Christopher Nolan would be great, is because he twists it on its head.
Exactly. Yeah. That's there's a lot that can be cut out, and these messages can be gotten across very powerfully.
Yeah,
And I
don't-
think you take the
Yeah,
spirit.
you
take
don't
the
need the
questions and the spirit.
storylines. You don't
Yeah.
need any of the same storylines other than you need the setup that he was a spy who resigned. Like you kind of need that.
Do we need Rover?
I mean, he's just so symbolic, but we
Yeah.
probably don't.
Yeah.
But you could
we-
update. I mean, imagine how, like you can have drones.
Yeah, or you could have something that comes and gets you, or something that malfunctions if you get out of a certain perimeter. Oh, this could be a
I know.
sick movie.
God, could you imagine how they would handle a lot of like the brain words? How do words work today? A lot of, like the experiments that they put on him. Like when you look at the one Christopher Nolan like In the Mind movie,
Inception.
Inception. Imagine using like shots like that with going with super trippy stuff.
It would be so
My brain is
good.
not working today.
I think it would be so like I'm so excited.
We
God.
gotta get, hey,
gotta-
I've been
I'm gonna-
campaigning for
Yeah.
years. So there we go.
Okay. And I want to hear from you guys who watch the show. Tweet at us at AfterBuzz TV and let us know who you would want fan casted.
Yeah, you
In
can
this.
use the hashtag ABTV prisoner, and
Darn
we
right.
will try and get this happening. We got
Yeah.
10 more episodes to make this happen.
And by the way, if anyone is an insider and that knows who owns the script rights, who owns the rights in general, and whatever, like, we can try to make something happen. I can't say that, hey, we're gonna get Christopher Nolan to do a movie, but you know what?
can
I
ask.
can try to push things in the right direction.
Hey, man,
I wouldn't say
all you
no
need
to
is a
that.
dollar and a dream.
Yeah, if I was a multi-million-dollar producer, I would sink money into that. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
The fact that there's fans 45, the fact that we're here 45 years later wanting to discuss this, the fact that there's people listening that want to discuss
I would
this.
take a 50th anniversary movie.
Yeah.
How, like, you know what I
I
mean?
know.
That's not
Oh,
being
that's
selfish
smart.
at all.
No.
That gives it enough time.
And think about older shows that have been successful. Face Off. When I loved the Face Off
Right.
movie. They did a great job. I mean, it's a ripe storyline, and it's not rebooting things that happened 2 years ago.
It's so funny. Last night I watched Nightcrawler for the first time. It was Jake Gyllenhaal was amazing. So I feel like he should at some point in time be a number 2.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. You have to watch it. It was.
I need to.
Ridiculously
Yeah.
awesome.
I hear it's like my old life. So, in terms of reporting and stringers,
There you
I
go.
hope
So
it's
we need a
not.
number. So just to play the fun game
Yeah.
along with us, we need a number 6. We need let's for the sake of
Mm-hmm.
discussion, we'll
Liam
have 4. We'll have 4 number
Number
2s.
twos.
We need a couple female leads.
Yeah.
You know, let's say it's number 12, number 14, number 28, number 46.
Yeah.
Me and Meredith could somehow go in there.
Yeah. We need the general.
We need the general.
Mm-hmm.
We need a colonel.
Yeah.
Professor.
Professor.
Phil, you can be the professor.
Yeah.
We need some strange doctor.
Oh,
Doctors.
that's more your
Yeah.
role.
And yeah.
Yeah.
There you
Oh,
go.
and we need number 2's assistant.
Oh, we need the butler.
Yeah, we need the butler.
Of course, we gotta have the butler. Gotta have the butler. So there you have it.
That's super fun.
There you go. Let us know, and
I'm glad I said
I
that.
know.
I was like sitting on it for
Yeah.
a couple minutes, and I was like, "Why?"
That's
I've been dying. Anyway, many happy returns. This was a much happy show. I know we took a week off, but
Thank you guys for doing that. I was out of town last week, and I couldn't change it, so I appreciate the pause.
that's right. And next week we will be doing Dance of the Dead, which we will have Curtis Armstrong, who plays
Booger!
from Revenge of the Nerds.
yay!
I kind of want to pick my nose with him.
It's my favorite pastime. Yes, he does a lot of stuff. Like he's Metatron on Supernatural. Like
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
It'll be fun, and one of the reasons he's coming on is because he's been here a bunch of times at AfterBuzz TV, and he saw the prisoner on our board, and he's
Yeah.
like, I want in.
I'm
So
actually kind of shocked how many of my friends are like, "Wait, you do the Prisoner, like the old '60s show?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You like that?" I'm like, "Yeah, come be on my show. Come on, my weird actor friends, come join me."
that's right. All right, next week, Dance of the Dead. We'll see you here. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it. If there's anything deeper to this episode that you thought is there, let us know. We try to go as deep as we could, but for the most part, it is what it was.
Yep.
That's true.
All right.
One more time. Put yourself over, Steph Z.
You guys can find me on Instagram, Twitter at IAMSTEFZ. I would love to hear from you guys.
And come find me at MPLACKO on Instagram and Twitter as well.
That's right. And tune in to see Meredith on the Popcorn Talk Network for Marvel movie news. And Steph Z and I do Shark Tank
Oh,
Yeah.
here on AfterBuzz TV. Woo!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Be seeing you.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.